It's led by Commissioner O'Grady.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, being that March is Women's History Month, we have a special guest with us today. I'm so honored to call forward Christy Angel, who is the president and CEO of the YWCA. Welcome to Franklin County Board of Commissioners Chamber, and I'd like to offer you the microphone to make a few comments.
You can take that mic off if you'd rather, or, yeah.
Ms. Angel,
or we can make it shorter.
Or we can make it shorter for normal sized.
Yes.
Normal size. That's awesome. That is awesome. That's the first time we've ever had that said in here.
Make it shorter. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Am I that short?
Your voice will carry.
Thank you. Thank you, President Boyce, and good morning, Commissioner Brown, Commissioner O'Grady, County Administrator, and other distinguished county officials and guests. My name is Christy Angel. I am the new President and CEO of the YWCA Columbus. I've been on the job, I like to say, for about 110 days.
but who's counting?
But who's counting? It's a fabulous job, and I'm counting because I feel so honored to be able to serve the organization in this community. Thank you for the opportunity to have me here today to talk about the history of the YWCA Columbus and a little bit about the YWCA USA. And thank you for honoring women in our community and honoring Women's History Month. So the YWCA literally began as a movement. The name came later, but the movement started in England first in 1855, and then in the United States in 1858. In each country, a small group of caring, perceptive women began the task of making life better for women in their community. This small group of women sensed the anxiety of young women who came to cities from supportive home bases in rural areas in search of work to become self-supporting. This is in the 1800s. Factories were replacing at-home occupations like weaving, sewing, and laundry. These concerned women addressed issues like unsanitary conditions, long hours, lack of rest periods, and poor ventilation in factory workplaces. They also addressed at that time, believe it or not, the search for affordable, decent places to live, especially for young women who were setting out on their own. The first YWCA opened in about 1860 in New York City. From its inception, the YWCA has been a movement dedicated to empowering women, and later in our work, the YWCA moved to areas of discrimination, working to eliminate racism wherever it exists and by any means necessary. So in 1886, 5 women came together in a 12-room house and offered shelter to 25 young women who recently moved to Columbus and were seeking a place to stay. World War I brought more women to the YWCA's door, more than we had room for at that time, but thanks to the generous donation of a community member named Mary Sessions, you may know the name, there's a village named after the family name in Bexley, we soon had a facility enough to house all of the women. And in 1929, the YWCA got the building we all know down on 4th Street with those bright orange awnings called the Griswold Building. That building was funded by a woman named Mary Griswold. At the time, Mary used her money to build the building for the YWCA, although in those days, women could not have their own financial accounts and could not finance buildings. So the YWCA had to put together a small board of men just to finance the building. And then, of course, that board was disbanded right after. Thanks for your money. Thanks for your financing.
We don't need it anymore.
Actually, it wasn't even their money. Thank goodness now, when we had to do it all over again, we've renovated that building twice in '95, and we just completed a renovation last year. We didn't need to have a small group of men to help us finance the building. We were able to do that all on our own, but yet men were part of the work, and we certainly appreciate all that men do for the Y. So now let me give you just a little bit of history about your YWCA. In 1910, the YWCA Columbus opened the first public child care program for working mothers in Franklin County. In 1918, the YWCA Columbus added curriculum to our child care and became the first kindergarten in Franklin County. In 1923, the YWCA Columbus organized the Blue Triangle branch. It was a center for African American women over on the Near East Side, not far from the Eldon Ward YMCA. As I mentioned, in 1929, we opened the downtown building. In 1938, we began serving African Americans in our cafeteria, African American women and men in our cafeteria. And Nimrod B. Allen, who was a president of the Urban League, congratulated us for that work. A letter that he wrote to the YWCA exists on a poster board, actually as wallpaper outside of my office. Every day I get to walk into my office and read that letter. It gives me great hope that we were doing great work even in the 1930s. In 1943, we housed relocated Japanese American women in the Griswold building. In 1946, we adopted an interracial charter, which was a landmark policy for racial justice. In 1952, we fully integrated our staff, board, swimming pool, and residency. This is important because we were integrating the pool before really a lot of pools were integrated and a lot of residencies were integrated, and not long, but in the middle of the civil rights movement. In 1970, we adopted what we call the One Imperative to thrust our collective power towards eliminating racism. In 1974, Mary Miller, a YWCA staff member, led the way to Ohio's ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment from the third floor of the Griswold building. In 1986, we celebrated our first 100 years and we began Women of Achievement. And I'm proud to say Women of Achievement continues, as you all know. We've celebrated that for more than 33 years, and we will hold Women of Achievement on April 11th in this community. In 1989 was a big year for the YWCA. The first school-age child care program began in Westerville. We continue to operate before and after school care in Westerville. We continue to operate after school care in the Gahanna School District. We started serving homeless families with the Interfaith Hospitality Network in 1989, a service we continue to provide today, although we do it a little differently. In 1989, we also were awarded the first ever HUD grant for the Women's Residency Program. 91 women live in our downtown building on 65 South 4th Street, and those women, many of them come to us, 99% of them come to us with mental illness and disabilities, and they live in a supportive environment in the downtown building today. In 2005, our family center opened. This is important because we stopped serving homeless families in a way that was not quite dignified. Although we had great partners with the Interfaith Hospitality Network, many of you know families had to get up every day at 5 a.m., get showered, get dressed, go to school, go to work through trying to find housing, come home every night, stay in one room that was about the size of this room we're in today, and then get bused to churches to sleep and have dinner at night. We found that to be not a great way to take care of our families in this community. So in 2000, the YWCA set out to buy land and build a building, and in 2005, we opened the YWCA Family Center. I'm proud to say that we continue to provide those services to the families. Unfortunately, as many of you know, and recent articles, we continue to be full and overcapacitated with serving homeless families in this community. 73% of the families we serve look like me. They are African Americans with children. And because we have continued to have such high instances of family homelessness, in 2015 we had to open a second family shelter. The YMCA runs that shelter. And in that shelter, 73% of the families are African Americans, and most of the families are female single head of household. So as you can see, there is work to do. And this brings me to why I'm at the Y today. I'm at the Y today because there continues to be a need to not only serve homeless families, not only to help the women that live in our downtown building, not only to provide supportive and quality child care, but to work with all of you so that we really can eliminate the barriers that keep people from being successful in this community. And that does mean knocking down and eliminating some of the systemic racism that has existed, because many times we find those are part of the barriers that people come to us with. We offer programming, racial justice programming, and other types of programming, but I'm here today to tell you that our work is not over. We're just getting started, and I look forward to working with all of you as we try to make this community a better community. It is a great community, but we want it to be a great community for everyone, and so the YWCA is your partner, and please consider us whenever you need assistance or you need someone at the table, but we will be arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder with you in the work that is needed to make this community a great place for all, especially women, people of color, and families. Thank you.
Christy, thank you. I didn't know all of the Columbus history of the Y, but the Y has been instrumental across the country at reducing racism and empowering women. And in various communities, that reducing racism or eliminating racism is said first, and empowering women second. It doesn't matter. I think you're unique. YWCA is unique with that two-pronged mission of empowering women and eliminating racism. So I applaud you for your work there, and those who are on your board and those you serve. It's outstanding.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll just add that, we've learned a lot about the contributions of women to Central Ohio's history over the last several weeks. And we learned that one of the first African-American, or the first African-American mayor was right here from Central Ohio in Urban Crest. And I think hearing some of the history that you laid out just now even more illustrates the richness that Franklin County and Central Ohio plays in Ohio's history with regard to the contribution of women, and you're part of that legacy now, Ms. Angel.
Thanks.
You are, and you very much have been a part of this community for a long time, and I'm thrilled and excited about you being at the YWCA, because we all know we expect great things from it. We know that you're an innovator. From my interaction with you, you've always been a person, a can-do person. If you ask you something, I've never heard from you, we can't do it, it's not possible, it's let's try to figure it out. And I think that's the exciting part about the YWCA's future and the contributions, more importantly, to Central Ohio. And I'm really glad you brought up those statistics about the family shelters too, because I was at the eviction court yesterday and was looking at those statistics. And the vast majority of those families are headed by so 95% are headed by single family moms or single moms, and the vast majority, 72+%, are African American. And so we've got some real work to do right here in Central Ohio. And I know Jobs and Family Services, I don't know if they're here yet, but I know they are committed and dedicated to, as are the commissioners, of which we increased our funding just in March to help families and to help those women be successful and find a pathway. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you represent, and we appreciate the history lesson. And by the way, were there written notes?
Yes.
Because I'd like a copy of those, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And so
I would too. I think what you offered was that richness of the history here and nationally and internationally that some don't know. But what you do is so significant, and thank you for offering
Absolutely.
your entity to be part of what we do. We need the YWCA.
But we couldn't do what we do without the support of the commissioners and many in this room, the staff. I mean, if I start naming names, I'll be here all evening. or all morning, but certainly many people in this room they've always been a friend to the YWCA, but when I took the job, reached out to me personally to say, we are here, we want to work with you, and that gives me great comfort, one, to know that I've got a strong group of people behind me standing with me to do this work, but also knowing that our friendships and our collegiality has transformed some of the other work that I've done, and now moving into this organization, it speaks volumes to the leadership that leads Franklin County.
I want to echo what Kevin had said. There's been a long, rich history of leadership at the YWCA, and the expectation that we all have of your leadership. We've all known you for a long time. We've all known of what you can do for a long time. We have personal relationships with you and have for some time, including when, I had to actually, at one point, reach out and help you with a little business at DeSales High School, which
That's right.
Was not the easiest thing in the world for Bishop Reedy Silvernight to
I
do.
know.
But Christy's a Hall of Fame member at DeSales High School, and that was something that I had to hold back some old grudges to be able to help make happen. But I was glad to do it just because of you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
So I'm a little bitter because I'm not on in the Hall of Fame.
Okay,
of my
well,
own
we
high
have to
school.
work on that.
Yes.
Yeah. But we all know of your accomplishments and all that you've been able to do here in this community, and so we look forward to your leadership there. It's been a long history of fantastic leadership at that organization. So
Thank you very much.
we look forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
thank you.
And next, it was my pleasure earlier this week to accept on behalf of Franklin County this lovely award, an XP Award from Experience Columbus. And Franklin County, we received the award because of the NACO conference that we hosted last summer. And I really felt odd accepting it because I probably had the least to do with it of all of the commissioners, certainly, and perhaps Franklin County in general. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't take the time to recognize both Commissioner Brown for her work and especially Commissioner O'Grady for his leadership and work with bringing NACO here and then being sort of the leader and guider as it took place. And he did an outstanding job, and Commissioner Brown did an outstanding job. And I still hear, I was in Washington at NACO, and people are still talking about visiting Central Ohio and how great the conference was and how great Central Ohio was. And it was the talk of the town in Washington a couple of weeks ago. And that really speaks to our level of growth here in Central Ohio. But I'd be remiss too if I didn't also recognize at least one staff person. I know many staff folks worked on the NACO conference and contributed, nearly everybody here in one way or another. But I specifically want to point out Robin Deaver because you were a stalwart, detail, in the grind person for NACO on the ground. And without you, I'm absolutely certain we would not have had the success that we had with the conference. And so I accept this award on behalf of Franklin County, but I really want to focus on accepting it on behalf of Commissioner Brown, Commissioner O'Grady, and you too, Robin, for your work and leadership as a staff. So it's a nice award. I really want to keep it in my office, but since it wasn't for
But
me,
we said he couldn't.
going to find a place for it that we can all enjoy it because it's quite the honor and it's quite a big deal and certainly deserving for Franklin County.
Well, I was sad to be out of town last week and not be able to be there as well, but it was a team effort. There's no question. Robin was the team leader. She worked on this. We worked on this we got the bid in 2012, but we worked on this thing for a couple of years, and Robin certainly was the leader of the team, and all the commissioners, Kevin and Marilyn, we all played a role as a team, but county administration really put a lot of effort in, and there were so many people.
And the hundreds of
Oh,
volunteers.
yeah, people from Experience
From
Columbus.
and from the staff here, we
It's-
had hundreds of people every day
No question.
over there, and
It's great. It's great that Experience Columbus recognized us, but they were such a part of
Yeah.
what we did too. So they knew
Sure.
what went into this, and so it's really great. It was a great community effort. And you're right. I mean, when Kevin and I were both in Washington a couple weeks ago, and people were coming up to us both and saying stuff to us about it, and people had. By the way, Robin, people were asking about you in Washington. So staff were asking, "How's Robin doing?" So people miss you. So.
Administrator, did you want to
Kenneth Wilson, County Administrator, President Boyce, Commissioners O'Grady and Brown. Yes, there were sky blue and orange T-shirts everywhere. We had a tremendous number of volunteers. It wasn't Franklin County blue, but during that week in July, it was sky blue and orange because it was, we had volunteers everywhere. As you all have noted, Robin Deaver put in a lot of time, a lot of planning, a lot of effort. I mentioned you last week, Robin, you took a break. We all need that. When we were talking about the Certified Tourism Ambassador Program, and that I aspire for Franklin County to be CTA of the Year. I repeat that again. I put it on the record twice. But as a part of that effort, we had a number of county employees go through CTA training, and long after the event, we will have ambassadors all over the city promoting how great Franklin County and Central Ohio is as a place to come and work and raise a family. So this effort is long lasting. It's always a pleasure to continue to hear positive things, as President Boyce say. I know amongst my peers in the National County Administrators Association, to be told that I wasn't tooting our horn loud enough, given how great a job we did with that conference, it was really a good thing. So
I wouldn't want to be next year's host.
so
We're already hearing about that.
I know, I know.
so
We're going to Nashville this summer.
Yeah.
We're already hearing about it.
Yeah.
So, Team Franklin County was in full effect. So, thanks to all Franklin County employees for their contribution.
And
thank you.
Nashville has a big challenge.
Yes, they do. I'll say goodbye to the XP Award. So now down to business. And so again, thanks everyone for all your help with the national conference. Great success. So first up, we have Board of Commissioners in this. Who's representing?
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry.
Resolution 230-18, authorizing the county administrator to sign the Columbus Commitment, achieving pay equity, and reaffirming Franklin County's longstanding commitment to programs and policies that address gender and race-based inequities.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Long, Deputy Administrator. The Franklin County Board of Commissioners acknowledges the injustice of gender and race-based inequity, as well as the negative social and economic consequences research shows that this inequity reaps for individuals, families, and our entire community. This board has long been a strong proponent of programs and policies that support the economic and social empowerment of all people, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, sexual orientation, gender identity and gender expression, veteran status and disability in their households, neighborhoods, and workplaces. Just a few of the policies that this board has enacted include a pilot paid family leave program, a living wage standard, banning the criminal record box on job applications, and an inclusive fringe benefits program, just to name a few of the many programs this board has embraced. The Women's Fund of Central Ohio reports that locally, women earn 78 cents for every dollar earned by a man, and this disparity is wider for women of color. The Columbus Commitment, Achieving Pay Equity, specifically calls for Central Ohio employers to take action to promote gender and race-based pay equity. Franklin County employs 1,400 individuals and is committed to continued equitable and fair treatment of each employee. And this board recognizes that signing the Columbus Commitment illustrates both to county employees and the community at large that Franklin County is united with dozens of other Central Ohio employers in pledging continued commitment to ensuring continued innovation to address the nationwide issue of pay equity. Therefore, this resolution would authorize the county administrator to sign the Columbus Commitment, Achieving Pay Equity, and also directs our Director of Human Resources to continue to look for innovative ways to ensure equity among its workers and bolster Franklin County's status as an employer of choice in Central Ohio. We also have with us today Shelley Biting with the Columbus Women's Commission to say a few words as well.
Good morning.
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 Might have to raise that up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, thank you.
That's the work of Christy Angel there.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. On behalf of the Columbus Women's Commission, First Lady Shannon Ginther and Mayor Ginther, thank you for your dedication and your partnership in this conversation. The Columbus Women's Commission is committed to looking at economic security and economic position of women in our community. And so pay equity is just one of those pieces. Housing, evictions, workforce, and health are also on our radar. And as Chris mentioned, when you look at pay equity, knowing locally women make 78 cents on the dollar, and that gap even widens. We're looking at African American and Latina women. And when we look at pay equity, we know it's not just one policy that we can pass for the entire community. It really takes every employer to look at their numbers, to look at their policies and practices, to really make changes individually, to really impact the community. Also, as Christy Angel was saying, when we look at women's issues here in the community, there are 52,000 households here in Columbus that are female-headed, and they're single female-headed. So when we talk about pay equity, we know it's not just a women's issue, but it's truly a family issue here in our community. So this morning, as we talk about this resolution, Franklin County, you become the 100th adopter of this resolution, which is a tremendous response we have seen from our community. We just launched this initiative last November. And again, we know it's going to take every employer to be at the table, to be part of the conversation. And we're excited to partner in the work going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. And, we look at our policies in this arena as a set of policies that we can use to attract the best people to work with us and stay in county government. Pay equity seems to be such a no-brainer, and yet we know the complexities that go into it. One of the things that I know makes a difference is when you apply for a position, if you have salary history on the box, it already discriminates and causes employers sometimes, as you know, and we talked about yesterday, causes employers to not offer as competitive a salary as they might have if the salary history was different. And women tend to not ask as directly for what they are feeling they deserve to get. And so we have some work to do. But thank you for doing this pledge, and for us to be part of it is part of what we do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just add too that, Franklin County in 2015 commissioned its own study, and we began to implement some of those recommendations from the study, all of which include sort of the broad spectrum of the right pay for the right position and consistent and equitable pay. And I don't want to speak on behalf of all of the commissioners, but I say we challenge the employers of Central Ohio. Mm-hmm. We challenge them to look at their own pay inequities, to look at their own pay scales, and to review them on an annual basis to ensure that fairness and equality is occurring. And that is something that we can recognize at the Board of Commissioners. That's something that can move the needle in the right way. And so we challenge all of those employers out there to join us in taking the right step for equity and appropriateness and all those things that strengthen families and strengthen our community overall. So thank you for your advocacy, and thank you for the work that you're doing. And please give Chairwoman Ginther our best as well.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley.
Need a motion?
Move approval of Resolution 23018.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd.
Yes,
Resolution number 230-18 has been adopted. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Court of Common Pleas.
Resolution number 215-18, authorizing acceptance of grant funding from the State of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction through the Targeted Communities Alternatives to Prison Program for fiscal year 2019 in the amount of $2,250,000.
Good morning. Jennifer Goodman, Director for Common Pleas Court, and with me is Michael Daniels, Justice Planning Coordinator. Did I get that right? Okay.
Policy coordinator.
Policy
That's okay.
Coordinator, I'm sorry. This program, which is referred to as TCAP, provides funding to local communities to supervise felony 5 offenders who, beginning on July 1st, 2018, will no longer be permitted to be sentenced to prison. There are a couple exceptions to this change in the law, which include those offenses of violence, sex offenses, or any offense that requires a mandatory prison sentence. In addition, if an offender has a criminal history with those same type of offenses, violence or sex offense, they too are excluded. For fiscal year 2019, Franklin County is allocated $2.25 million, again, to offset this cost of diverting those folks from prison, of which 50% is allocated to be utilized by the court's probation department to supervise that offender population. And the focus of that supervision will be to reduce risk as well as prevent recidivism, utilizing evidence-based practices. The remainder of the funding is going to be utilized to offset the cost of local incarceration, and Michael's going to speak to that aspect.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, the additional $1.125 million that will come to the Board of Commissioners, we anticipate approximately $200,000 of that to be used to offset direct costs at the sheriff. That's food, supplies, medications, et cetera, for those F5 felony offenders. You'll remember last year we did an interfund loan to the Justice Fund to support the Municipal Court Work Release Program for $100,000. We would be making recommendations to repay that interfund loan as well as to support that program for this year at a $200,000 level. And then the remainder of the monies perhaps to fund some innovative research regarding bail reform and how we look at that as that bill moves through at the state level, but also to build on the conference we went to in Bethesda, Maryland a couple of years ago and look at a frequent users of the system model, a housing first fuse model, where we could potentially take 40 or 50 of our most frequent utilizers of the jail who do not need to be there, who are there because of homelessness, mental health, and addiction issues, and move them out, thus freeing up that bed space so that we do not have to stack people up or build additional bed space for these F5 offenders who are coming down. So over the course of the next couple of months, the first payment I believe on this comes in May. And so over the course of the next couple months, we'll be working closely with county administration and OMB to put those plans together, and then of course be bringing them forward for your review.
Move approval of Resolution 215-18.
I'll second, and I just want to say that the evidence-based work that you're doing at the courts is incredibly important as we move forward with this effort. And Michael, I would just ask that as we're looking at ways we can reduce the amount of time or any time somebody is spending in jail that doesn't need to be, I know this TCAP funding will be very important to get that research.
Absolutely, that's our number one charge downstairs, is to make sure that we're not keeping people in jail who don't need to be there.
And the bottom line is this community's safety is paramount importance. And there are various ways and various schools of thought on how to keep our community safe. When we get people in jail who don't belong there, they end up with a criminal record that hurts them forever. And we don't want that to happen.
And Commissioner, your point is well taken, and as we've talked about before, if we get people in who don't need to be there, and we don't provide treatment and other options, and we let them out, they're going to cycle back in the front door. And every time we do that, by default, we're creating a new crime victim.
Yeah.
Because in order for them to come back in, they've had to commit some other crime, which they almost certainly will do without this type of intervention. And so we consider this to be absolutely a public safety issue, an economic development issue, as well as a social justice issue.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce. Resolution number 215-18 has been adopted.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Thank you both.
Sheriff's Office.
Resolution number 216-18, authorizing the master terms of service agreement with Media Sonar Technologies Incorporated for location-based social media investigation services.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Masterson, Director of Administrative Services for Sheriff Dallas Baldwin. This resolution will authorize the use of software capable of helping monitor social media services to aid in investigating critical information regarding protests, terrorism, school violence, and other crimes. Pending any questions, I ask approval of this resolution.
Move approval of resolution 216-18.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 216-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 217-18, authorizing a contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation to continue an inmate work program for litter removal along Franklin County roadways in the amount of $94,620.
Commissioners, this resolution will enable the Sheriff's Office to continue its inmate litter removal program along the Franklin County roadways during 2018. ODOT will reimburse the cost of deputy services for inmate security during these duties. Pending any questions, I ask approval of this resolution.
Move approval of 217-18.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 217-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 218-18, authorizing contracts with Tab Textile Company Incorporated, Walter F. Stevens Jr. Incorporated, Bob Barker Company Incorporated, Charm Tex Incorporated, and Victory Supply LLC for the supply and delivery of inmate bedding and linens for the Sheriff's Correctional Facility in the amount of $201,906.
Commissioners, this resolution is for a one-year contract through March 19th, 2019 to supply the jails with inmate bedding and linens. These items were competitively bid in accordance with Ohio Revised Code and include mattresses, flat sheets, bath towels, washcloths, wool, and non-wool blankets. In addition, the contract will allow 4 optional one-year extensions. With no questions, I ask approval of this resolution.
Move approval of 218-18.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 218-18 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Emergency Management Agency.
Resolution number 219-18, authorizing non-general fund supplemental appropriations related to an emergency management performance grant award.
Good morning, Commissioners. Director Jeff Young, representing Franklin County Emergency Management and Homeland Security. It's hard to believe that with the weather we're going to experience over the next 36 hours, spring weather will arrive eventually, I promise you, followed by summer storms. So I'd like to take just a brief moment to remind you that this year Franklin County will be participating in a statewide tornado drill tomorrow, Wednesday at 9:50 a.m. During that time, the tornado sirens will sound for the full 3-minute cycle, not the typical noon test on Wednesday, which is 2 20-second cycles. This is part of the state's Severe Weather Awareness Week and done in conjunction with the National Weather Service. This week also represents the implementation of our new siren policy, giving us the flexibility to activate our siren system through the use of 4 geographic zones: northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. This is done with our desired goal to more accurately warn the public that they actually are in an area under a National Weather Service tornado warning. Thank you for allowing me to touch base on those 2 points. The resolution before you currently is to approve a non-general fund appropriation. This is a additional appropriation or supplemental award from the state of Ohio. We were notified in December of 2017. The state EMA notified us that we have received a supplemental amount to our annual emergency management performance grant. This supplemental award has allowed us to fund several needed projects not included in our original 2018 budget due to the end of the year timing of that award. These projects represent new tables and chairs for our training room, warning lights for a replacement vehicle, and replacement of a failing network switchgear that we've got at our agency. So without question or comment, I ask for your approval.
Move approval of 21918.
I'll second.
Moved and second voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 219-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 220-18, authorizing a non-general fund supplemental appropriation related to the purchase of equipment on behalf of the City of Columbus Division of Fire.
This resolution is also to approve a second non-general fund appropriation for a 2015 State Homeland Security Grant Special Project made available by Ohio AME in February of this year to purchase an additional Nano X-ray unit for the Columbus Fire Division Bomb Squad. This is an additional unit to the previous 2015 grant project for the purchase of Nano X-ray equipment that is currently being shared by the Sheriff's Office, Columbus Division of Fire, and the Joint Terrorism Task Force. If there are no questions or comments, I ask for your approval.
Move approval of 22018.
Second.
Moved and second voting, Commissioner Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 220-18 has been adopted.
And Jeff, before you leave, can you give the information on if somebody wants to sign up for weather alerts, how they do that?
Absolutely. Through our website, fcemnhs.org, we have a link for Alert Franklin County, which is our mass notification system, and through that system you can receive informational weather alerts and warnings. So yes, that's part of our a little bit of our tiered system in today's society of social media, mass notification, and the outdoor siren system to accurately warn and inform the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Law Library.
Resolution number 221-18, allowing the law library to enter into a 3-year contract with LexisNexis for patron access in the amount of $55,971.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Jones. I'm Public Services Librarian with the Franklin County Law Library. Today we're asking that you approve a new 3-year LexisNexis contract. This is for patron access. It allows patrons within the library to do legal research using the LexisNexis platform. We've locked in a 3% annual increase for the contract. We do have an open PO with funds available. So, barring any questions, we respectfully request you pass this resolution. Thank you.
Move approval of 22118.
Second.
Moved and second moved and second voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 221-18 has been adopted.
Thank you. Economic Development and Planning.
Resolution number 222-18, review a petition to annex 20 plus 2 plus or minus acres from Perry Township to the City of Columbus, case number annex-05-18.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jenny Snap, Assistant Director, Economic Development and Planning. This resolution is to consider an expedited Type 2 annexation of 20.2 acres from Perry Township to the City of Columbus. The area to be annexed includes property located at 5586 through 5610 Riverside Drive. That's 4 parcels, east of Riverside and the Scioto River, north of West Case, south of 161, and west of Sawmill. The petition was filed by agent and attorney Michael Shannon, who is here in attendance if you have any questions, on behalf of property owners Carrie Kammerer, Randy and Christine Walker, Gerald and Maja Horn, and Epcon Riverside LLC. 13% of the site's perimeter is contiguous with Columbus, and the city passed resolution number 0548-2018 on February 26, 2018, indicating the services that will be provided once the annexation is approved, and a statement regarding incompatible land uses in a zoning buffer. Petition meets all statutory requirements of Section 709.021 of the Ohio Revised Code, and pending any questions, we request your approval.
Move approval of 22218.
Second.
Moved and second in voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 222-18 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Snap, also, I don't know if you had a chance to talk with Jessica from my office. There was an issue yesterday. If you don't mind, before you go.
Yeah, I
if you could
believe
just
Matt
connect with
Brown
her.
has talked to her.
Okay, okay, good, thank you. Child support enforcement?
Resolution number 223-18, authorizing the Director of the Child Support Enforcement Agency to sign the Office of Child Support Allocation Work Group 2017 report and recommendation.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Susan Brown, representing the Franklin County Child Support Enforcement Agency. I ask your consideration this morning in approving this resolution authorizing me, as the Director of Child Support, to sign the State Child Support Allocation, Allocation Work Group recommendation and report on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. This report represents the work group's consensus to a state allocation formula that will replace the current allocation rule. This report also represents years of hard work developing this formula and also recognizes the work of all of the county representatives who served on the work group. It also recognizes and expresses the board's appreciation for the efforts and valued consideration of Jeff Aldridge, the State Office of Child Support Director, Cynthia Dungy, the Director of Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, the members of the Joint Committee on Agency Rule Review, and finally, the ODJFS Office of Legislation. I would also like to personally thank the County Administrator, Ken Wilson, Deputy County Administrators Keena Smith, and also Chris Long, and Commissioner Boyce and his office for their steadfast support all throughout the process. Pending any questions, I request that this resolution be approved.
Move approval of Resolution 223-18.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 223-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 224-18, authorizing a 4D contract with the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office in the amount of $377,776.92.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lori Torriero, Assistant Director at Child Support. This is our annual interagency contract with the County Prosecutor's Office. The Prosecutor's Office provides 2 assistant prosecutors and associated support staff to process any of those child support obligors or payors that are eligible for a criminal non-support charge. This represents less than 1% of our active caseload, and we only use this option when there is an ability to pay without any other method being successful.
When this happens, Lori, and somebody ends up going to jail, are you notified that child support benefits cease to be collected? I know these are folks that aren't paying anyway, but do you get notified so that you know not to tack on
Yes, we are.
other charges?
We are in constant communication with the 2 assistant prosecutors, our litigation office, and they have a back and forth that goes on so that the status of every case is updated every time something happens in that case.
I'd like to add as well, Susan Brown, that very infrequently do these parents go to jail. The first response is community control sanctions, and working with these parents to get them in a better situation. Our probation department has a very robust workforce service program as well. So it's only in very rare circumstances that these parents go to jail.
Yeah. And when they're not, are you finding this to be an effective tool, I guess?
To some degree. It's unfortunate that we have to use this as our last resort. But yes, if we can get the parents to engage in the programming, then it is successful.
Right. Good.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval of 224-18.
Second. Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 224-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 225-18, resolution for a memorandum of understanding between Franklin County Child Support Enforcement Agency and Action for Children.
Commissioners, I ask your consideration in approving this resolution, which authorizes the Franklin County CSEA to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Action for Children, New Beginnings for New Fathers program, and their Fathers Factor program. This MOU provides the program with an opportunity to leverage funded services for our new fathers entering into the child support program. The New Beginnings for New Fathers program is federally funded. It's a grant program which teaches new and expected low-income fathers ages 15 to 25 to become more effective in nurturing parents, improve their long-term economic outcomes through intensive employment training and career services. The program will connect fathers to social services when needed, help them to build strong and lasting relationships with their children, plus they will receive monetary incentives for their participation. The Father Factor program is funded in part by the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood and provides similar supportive services such as parenting classes, parenting time services, and job development support. Fathers will be referred to the program during the paternity phase of their child support case, so very early on. They'll receive individualized joint case management services by a dedicated child support worker and an Action for Children case manager. Hopefully, this program will deter anyone from having to be referred for criminal non-support in the future, and also to encourage and promote a great relationship with their children. So pending any questions, I request that this resolution be approved. And also with us today are Ashiko Hudson, who's the program manager for New Beginnings for New Fathers, and also Jeff Kramer, program manager for the Father Factor at Action for Children.
Great.
Would you like to offer some comments?
Yeah, Jeff Kramer with Action for Children. I manage the Father Factor program. Thank you to the commissioners for having us this morning. Thank you to Director Brown for engaging us in this project. With Father Factor, what we're doing is working with fathers, a lot of times non-custodials, and we're trying to teach them some positive parenting skills, some responsible parenting skills. We're in many counties. We're also in incarcerated settings, so familiar with lots of different backgrounds. What we found is that giving these men a voice is really the key to moving forward with them. And I think that in this collaboration, we'll have a great opportunity to work with these young fathers, and this is primarily going to be a Chico's program. But I did want a chance to just mention, I think the ability to speak to them, give them a voice. We had a graduation last night in my program here in Franklin County. 12 guys graduated, 12 fathers, and a lot of them come in begrudgingly. Some of them are mandated. As you can imagine, being told to go to a parenting class may not be high on everybody's list. But through the course of the program, they start to bond. They understand it's a non-judgmental, open forum where they're learning skills. And we hear from several of them last night that they're disappointed that it's ending, and can they come back later. So we look forward to this collaboration. I'll turn it over to Ashiko and let him talk a little bit about his program. Thank you.
Great.
Good morning, all. My name is Ashiko Hudson. I am the program manager for New Beginnings for New Fathers. Our program really is designed to take a proactive approach to fatherhood, getting fathers engaged in the process early on when they're informed or they become aware that they may even potentially be a father. We want to engage these young dads particularly and provide them with the tools and resources to be actively involved in their children's lives. So as Jeff stated, the parenting skills, the co-parenting piece is a huge component because oftentimes with the population that we serve, mom and dad aren't together. And what we found is that the relationship between dad and child is often impacted by the relationship of dad and mom. So we are doing our part to help them navigate that relationship. So we understand that also being a part of this program and being a new dad, there is obviously a responsibility to your child. And we have a financial literacy component as well. So we partner with OSU Extension Center, and they provide that financial literacy to our fathers. So One important thing I'd like to mention is we advocate for these fathers in the court system. A lot of people or fathers come in to the process completely scared of the court system, completely scared of child support. So I believe that this partnership is in many ways a paradigm shift in the way we approach fatherhood and the child support system. So I'm excited about the work that we are doing. We have a committed case manager who will be housed in their facility, so we are able to connect with these fathers in a more aggressive manner, front-end manner, provide them with the knowledge and resources to, again, at the end of the day, be actively involved in their child's life. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, and I know getting the parent involved makes a huge difference in a child's life. And I know about your program, and I'm really thrilled to see this partnership.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval of 225-18.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 225-18 has been adopted.
Thank you. Homeland Security and Justice Programs.
Resolution number 226-18, authorizing sub-grant awards and contracts for services with Buckeye Region Resolution, authorizing sub-grant awards and contracts for services with Buckeye Region Anti-Violence Organization and Ohio Health Research Institute for the provision of court training and victim services under the fiscal year 2017 Stop Violence Against Women Act block grant in the amount of $57,852.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Michael Daniels in the Office of Justice Policy and Programs. Before you, this resolution requests your approval of 2 additional contracts under our 2017 Stop Violence Against Women Act block grant. The first one is a grant for $2,852 to the Buckeye Regional Anti-Violence Organization, or BRAVO, to support the provision of culturally specific training to court personnel, including judges, prosecutors, public defenders, probation officers, and bailiffs, on the specifics of LGBTQ interpersonal violence and assessment for who is the primary aggressor. That's often difficult to determine without the appropriate cultural competence training. The second grant in front of you is for $55,000. This is an ongoing grant that we've had for several years with SARNCO, the Ohio Health Research Institute, to support increased community awareness of sexual violence and to provide quality and consistency of education for sexual assault advocates and service providers, specifically regarding the neurobiology of sexual violence and trauma-involved care. Pending any questions, we'd ask for your approval.
Move approval of 226-18.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 226-18 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Community Partnerships.
Resolution number 227-18, authorizing a one-year contract with Columbus Humane to investigate cases of animal cruelty, neglect, and abandonment in Franklin County in the amount of $35,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dana McCrary, Community Partnership Coordinator with OMB. The first resolution is with Columbus Humane. Our funding provides support for the Cruelty Investigations Officer, who really is out in the community investigating all types of incidents of animal cruelty, abandonment, neglect, animal hoarding situations, and things of that nature. So pending any questions, I would request approval of this resolution.
Move approval of 227-18.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 227-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 228-18, authorizing a one-year contract with the Franklin County Public Health Department to provide influenza vaccine to Franklin County residents in need in the amount of $52,800.
Commissioners, this resolution supports the purchase and distribution of influenza vaccine through a mass flu clinic, which the Franklin County Public Health Department operates, and also in partnership with various community agencies that reach out to underinsured and uninsured adults making sure that every Franklin County resident who would like to have the flu vaccine has the opportunity to receive it. We are very fortunate this morning to have our health commissioner here with us, Joe Mazzola from Franklin County Public Health, and because the flu season this year has been so extraordinary and frankly deadly, I thought this would be a good opportunity to have Joe come in to speak to the importance of the flu vaccine.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Dana. Good morning, Commissioner Boyce, Commissioner Brown, Commissioner O'Grady. As Dana mentioned, Joe Mazzola, Franklin County Public Health. We couldn't be more pleased to continue our partnership with the Board of Commissioners and the Community Partnership Grant. And as mentioned earlier, and I would imagine no one in this room to be a surprise, this has been a fairly rough flu season for not just Franklin County, but for the country. So this type of opportunity that we're able to collaborate with you to make flu vaccine available to our community just continues to be of significant importance to public health for our residents. And so we thank you for this opportunity. As mentioned, what we try to do is really take the spirit of this grant program and really partner with other organizations. So making vaccine available to partners like Columbus Public Health, Life Care Alliance, Charitable Pharmacy of Central Ohio. And then, as mentioned, we put on an annual mass flu vaccination clinic as well. We're already planning for that come October. And last year, we vaccinated over 300 individuals in a matter of 2 hours. And so it helps us not only make a flu vaccine available to those who may not have that ability otherwise, but also as far as the health department improves our capabilities to make sure that we're ready to make a response if needed in those types of situations. So again, our appreciation and our thanks for this continued partnership, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So Joe, are these funds for the 2018-2019 flu season?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this past year, and I receive a flu shot annually. I'm a heart patient, and I've said this before. You guys have all heard me say this a million times. Get your flu shot. I've been getting a flu shot now for the last 19 years. I've not had the flu for the last 19 years. I take that back. I had it 1 year, but it was because I was unprotected for the one strain of the flu that came that season that I was unprotected for because it was a crazy flu season like we had this year. We had a particularly bad flu season this year, as you say, and it was so there was this particular year we had strains of the flu that came that were we were unprepared for based on the vaccine that everybody received this year, correct?
So the efficacy for this year's vaccine, according to the CDC, was right around 32%.
Yeah.
So a little lower than we would hope. We've seen previous flu seasons where it's been significantly higher. So at the federal level, when they've already created the flu vaccine for next year, we hope that match will be better. It's always, it's their best guess to make sure that they have captured those most prevalent strains. But regardless, and I actually would just reiterate something I heard from HHS just a few weeks ago, kind of the analogy of if you're 32% less likely to die in a car accident, you put your seatbelt on, right? So whether it's 32%, 40%, 50%, the message is get your flu shot, stay home when you're sick, and make sure that you're washing your hands as much as possible. So always take those preventative steps.
As a heart patient, I mean, it's just a good idea for me to get a flu shot every year. So I've been doing that religiously for the last 19 years. But as your employer, as your employers, we tell you it's a good idea from a healthcare perspective. Where it's a good idea for you to get your flu shot. But I mean, as Joe says, it's just a smart idea. If you're a parent, get your flu shot. If you're a parent, have your kids get your flu shot. Keep your household from bringing that into the household. I mean, my wife runs around the house every year with handy wipes, wiping down the house, wiping all the doorknobs, wiping all the refrigerator handles and stuff. But whatever you can do to keep that flu strain from being around the house is a good idea, and it's just a smart idea, and it doesn't take much. You go to see your doctor. While you're in there for any other reason, they'll give you a flu shot. You can get it at the grocery store generally. You can get it at a Minute Clinic. You can get it at CVS or at a pharmacy. It's an easy thing to do. You can get it at the health department. It's a really easy thing to do.
And if I might, we
Yeah.
do have regular clinics around Franklin County for child vaccinations, and we always have flu vaccine available during flu season at those regularly standing clinics around Franklin County. And then at Memorial Hall at our clinic, we always have that available as well.
And you can get it basically starting in about late summer, early fall, correct?
We'll have the vaccine in early September, late August, early September. Our mass vaccination clinic will be in early October, but yeah, you're correct. Flu season will start in and around that time, and it'll go all the way through May. So it still isn't too late to get your flu shot, even if you haven't had a chance yet.
That's what I was going to say. Let's say, hypothetically, I knew someone that didn't get theirs this year. I'm just saying, maybe I know somebody
not here
that may
today.
not have gotten theirs. Should they still go and get it, even for this year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We are still.
I have to call that person and let them know that they should get their flu
Hypothetically,
shot.
and we are still at moderate intensity in terms of flu activity. So we've just kind of came off of the widespread activity, but we're still at moderate. So it's still very active. So hypothetically, if there was someone who did not have their flu shot,
Just
I would think I might know
I would
somebody.
absolutely
Yeah,
suggest
yeah.
that they get their flu shot. Yes.
Commissioner Boyce, I had the opportunity to go out and observe the mass flu clinic this past fall, and I will say, I did not see anybody from the county over there, except the people who worked at the health department. I just want to add that I do drive a minivan. So if there is anyone, I'm not calling any names, if there's anyone who really needs a ride over there, if they've missed every opportunity to get a flu shot here in the building or various other locations, I will let you know when I'm going, and you can get a ride with me and go over there and get your flu shot.
Other duties
What
as
time might you be going?
necessary.
In case that person I know, I might want to tell them, you know.
We'll
They
coordinate.
might need a ride.
I'll coordinate with you.
North end side of town.
I will do that. I
Oh,
will do
man.
that. I will do that. I'll coordinate. You all know how to reach me, so just send me
Right.
the names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much. Yep.
She's getting called out this morning.
Ooh,
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Resolution 22818.
second.
Moved and second voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 228-18 has been adopted.
Get your
Purchasing.
flu shot.
Resolution number 229-18, approving purchases for various Franklin County agencies in the amount of $21,816,956.22.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carl Cuthbert representing the Purchasing Department. Resolution before you request for approval of 148 purchase orders. Commissioners, of the total purchase orders, there are 16 purchase orders for small emerging businesses, which equals 10.8% of the purchase order volume. Commissioners, in order to have an equitable evaluation of the SEB PO dollar volume, I would need to adjust the total PO dollar amount. The significant dollar amount of the PO proof list was caused by a $19.1 million disbursement to the Columbus Zoo for the zoo levy. By taking that amount away, the total PO dollars that were available to SEBs was $2,716,956.22. When you compare that to their total PO amounts that were awarded to SEBs of $463,984.57, it equals 3% of the purchase order dollar volume. If you left it in there, it would be less than 0.5%. That's why I need, in order to have an equitable evaluation of the POs available to the SEBs and what they spent, it would be 3%. So that's why, in order to have that evaluation, a clear evaluation, with taking out that $19 million to the zoo levy, which would not be available to the SEBs for comparison
Right.
amounts.
Got it.
These purchase orders have been pre-served as availability funds by the county auditor. Pending any questions, I recommend their approval.
Move approval of 22918.
Second.
Moved and second voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 229-18 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Next, Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 231-18, establishing a pre-qualified pool of firms eligible to provide investment banking and underwriting services and authorizing the underwriting syndicate for the upcoming inaugural issuance of sale tax revenue bonds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Telerik with the Office of Management and Budget. On February 6th of this year, firms were invited to submit proposals to provide investment banking and underwriting services to the county. The county received proposals from 25 firms, and 7 were identified to be interviewed for the upcoming senior lead on the sales tax issuance. After a comprehensive examination of the qualifications and experience of all the firms that submitted proposals, we have identified a pre-qualified pool of 13 firms to provide underwriting services through December 31st of 2020, including 6 to serve as part of the underwriting syndicate for the upcoming inaugural issuance of the sales tax revenue bonds. Pending any questions, would ask for your approval of this resolution.
Move approval of 23118.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 231-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 232-18, authorizing the agreements between Franklin County and the Public Safety Answering Points for the disbursements of wireless 911 grant dollars in the amount of $2,010,425.
Commissioners, on October 25th of 2017, the Franklin County 911 Planning Committee authorized funding to 4 wireless public safety answering points, or PSAPs as they're commonly called, that are operated by the City of Columbus, City of Dublin, City of Grove City, and the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Pending any questions, would ask for your approval of this resolution.
Move approval of 23218.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 232-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 233-18, authorizing transfer of funds from the general fund to the wireless 911 fund for the payment of interest earnings from calendar year 2017.
Commissioners, this is the annual resolution in which we calculate the interest earnings on the balance in the wireless 911 fund and transfer from the general fund to the wireless 911 fund. Pursuant to statute, the funds have to be deposited in the general fund first. Pending any questions, would ask for your approval of this resolution.
Move approval of 23318.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 233-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 234-18, appointing Paul Shedek III to the Columbus Regional Airport Authority Board of Trustees.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eric Janis, Deputy Administrator. Mr. Chodak is a Vice President of American Electric Power, Vice President of Utilities. Pending any questions, would recommend this approval of this appointment.
Move approval of 23418.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 234-18 has been adopted. Resolution number 235-18, appointing Randy Good to Rural Zoning Commission.
Commissioners, Ms. Good is an employee of Prairie Township and also a trustee at Pleasant Township. Pending any questions, would recommend approval of this appointment.
Move approval of resolution 23518.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 235-18 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any generalizations?
Yes, there's one. Case number Annex -07-18, an expedited Type 2 annexation petition, Annex 07-18, was filed with the Franklin County Economic Development and Planning Department on March 14, 2018. The petition is requesting to annex 1.00 plus or minus acres from Jackson Township to the City of Grove City. The petition will be considered by the Board of Commissioners on April 17, 2018. Site 4175 Castle Boulevard, PID number 160-000814.
Thank you.
Move to convene into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, promotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Resolution number 236-18 has been adopted.
We'll reconvene for the executive session in the briefing room in 5 minutes.